My name is Tamara Milagre. I'm German, but 27 years ago, during an excursion, I fell in love with beautiful Lisbon. I married a handsome Portuguese, and we are incredibly proud parents of two wonderful human beings, our daughters Sarah, 25 years old, and Joanna, 19 years old. I'm a trained nurse, and I also studied some semesters of architecture, but my heart was always with the caring thing.
Tamara's vitality is overwhelming. You can see it just in a few words. A nurse and a mother of two daughters. She traveled thousands of miles to fulfill her dreams and now dedicates her life to others. However, if we take a more in-depth look at her story, we can find something different and far more dramatic.
Cancer was a topic my whole life long.
I'm Giulia Bassetto, and this is the second season of The Science of You, a journey to discover the frontiers and benefits of personalized medicine. The Science of You is a podcast series by Cora Media in collaboration with the European Partnership for Personalized Medicine and coordinated by Fondazione Toscana Life Sciences and co-funded by the European Union's Horizon Europe Framework Programme for Research and Innovation. People like Tamara are also called previvors, a new word that refers to a preemptive survivor of cancer who underwent surgery before the disease reared its head. Thanks to advances in research, this group has been steadily growing in size and includes famous people such as Angelina Jolie, to name just one. This is a relatively recent development in the history of medicine. It began when scientists were first able to identify those genes that made cancers more likely, and later when genetic testing made it possible to pinpoint those at risk and design truly personalized avenues for treatment. Among these options is the possibility of preemptive surgery on those organs where cancer is most likely to develop. Many of these patients discover that they have a hereditary predisposition to cancer, which in medicine is called familiarity, or the presence of multiple cases of cancer in the family. As Tamara said, cancer was a topic my whole life long. Starting from her childhood in a German town in the Zeeland, a small municipality on the border with France.
When I was a little child, I remember that I didn't like to be around my paternal grandmother because she was moaning all the time. I was too small to understand that she was bearing intolerable pain from advanced ovarian cancer.
Her history begins with her parental grandmother's illness. She is still too young to truly realize what's happening. She only sees the signs of suffering, but cannot really understand them. After her grandmother's death, life seems to grant her a brief respite. But it's short-lived. The disease returns, and this time it does so at the most fragile moment, during her teenage years. It strikes her mother.
She had been diagnosed with breast cancer at age 44, at the same time as one of my paternal aunts had been diagnosed with the same cancer. That time, that was a highly traumatizing time for us three children. And for the first time, I feared that my mother could die. It was the first time I saw my father crying.
Tamara is not old enough to understand how serious that illness is. She clearly feels the real risk of losing her mother just when she is needed most. And even though this part of the history has a happy ending, the suffering experienced during the treatment remains etched in her memory.
She had 2 high-risk surgeries within a week, and later she suffered from a toxic hepatitis from her highly aggressive treatment. When she finally finished her treatments and started growing back her hair, we all went like, "Awesome, you are cured."
Cancer seems a thing of the past. A peaceful period begins. Tamara finishes her studies and starts working as a nurse while also studying architecture. She then decides to take part in an exchange program in Barcelona and visits Lisbon during an outing with the city's student of architecture.
when I came over the 25th of April bridge and I saw Jesus Christ on the right side, embracing the city and protecting the city, like you can see the same statue in Rio de Janeiro. And then I looked to the left and I saw the open sea. I looked again to the right and I saw the super blue sky, the very light and beautiful city. That was the point when I decided I'm going to stay here. I can't tell how it happened, but I felt already home.
She's dazzled by the city of Lisbon. She's captivated by the city's beauty, falls in love with it, and meets the man she will marry and have 2 daughters with. Cancer is just a distant memory. Her mother is better and her parental grandmother's illness is long gone. The cancer in the family are a lot, but it is understandable that this was still seen as an anomaly, not least because they affected her mother and parental grandmother, 2 people who were not related to one another. They didn't share the same blood. To fully understand what happened next, we must first pause and focus on what we mean when we talk about cancer.
Cancer is an accumulation of mutations that give superpowers to these cells and they start to behave bad.
Marta Morim is a doctor and researcher at the Lisbon University Hospital.
So when you have a mistake, that mistake could give the ability to the cell to not to die or to divide more, or the ability to invade or to surpass the immune system. Or there are a lot of hallmarks of cancer right now. And so what happens is by chance it can be an error in a very innocent place and won't have any consequences, but you can have an error on a specific gene that gives you the ability for the cell to divide a lot more, and then this will start making your risk higher and higher. And if the cell divides more, then they will have the probability of getting more errors that are not being corrected, and then the oncogenic process starts, because it's not a mistake, it's a bunch of mistakes.
However, the risk of cancer is not usually hereditary.
There are the somatic mutations, those that happen only in the tissue that is affected. So those were not inherited, we gain them by our interaction with the environment, and they are not passed to our children. So most of the cancer is caused by somatic mutations, alterations that only one cell, then in 10 cells, then just some specific cells in one tissue.
Cancer is caused by mutations, small changes in the DNA that holds the instruction for life in our genes. Usually, at a young age, the body and cells can repair most of these mutations. But over time, these errors accumulate until the cell stops following rules and starts behaving abnormally and dangerously, continuing to duplicate even when there is no need to do so, consuming great amounts of energy and attacking the surrounding tissues, becoming a cancer. In most cases, these mutations occur in adulthood, leaving no trace in the following generations. And this is precisely what Tamara's family believes as well. At that time, however, the genetics of cancer was still largely a mystery, far removed from the knowledge and awareness we have today. Until the disease returned to her family, more aggressive than before, striking hard on her father's side. The very son of her grandmother, the woman who had died of ovarian cancer a few years earlier.
My father had died from non-diagnosed metastatic breast cancers. But it wasn't until my other paternal aunt was diagnosed with ovarian cancer that a doctor with genetic literacy sent her for genetic testing due to early onset multiple cancers in my paternal family. The result came back in 2006 for BRCA1 mutation, but nobody told me about it. I was living in a different country and my aunt gave up on communication because nobody in the family wanted to hear anything about cancer anymore.
The aunt actually tries to talk about it with the family, but she finds resistance.
She gave up on communication because family members almost treated her with aggression because they had so much pain and suffering experience with many cancers and early death due to metastatic disease within the family.
We have seen that most cancers are due to mutation that occurred in adulthood. But there is another important aspect. Our body is not entirely defenseless. It is already prepared for the possibility that something may go wrong at some point in the future. Amorim again.
But we have mechanisms to protect us against it. We have DNA repair genes that their responsibility is to go around the genes. They are copied, they get mistakes, and they go around it and they correct the mistakes.
Unfortunately, sometimes we also see so-called germline mutations, which are indeed hereditary. Germline mutations are present from birth if we inherit them from our parents, and in return we can pass them on to our children. They play a very important role in about 10% of cancers. We have also said that we have mechanisms to defend ourselves against cancer cells. But what happens if the inherited mutations affect these defense mechanisms?
When we are born with a mistake in a gene that its responsibility was to correct these mistakes, our chances of getting cancer get really higher, because the probability of getting enough mutations to develop a cancer, it's much higher. So what we see in these people, we call this the genetic cancer, is that they get cancer at younger ages, and we see in the same family, like more than one person with the same type of cancer, or in the same constellation of cancers. For instance, BRCA1 and BRCA2.
The BRCA1 gene was first identified in the 1990s by scientist Mary Claire King and her team. Mutations in this gene are associated with a higher risk of developing breast and ovarian cancers. The discovery of BRCA1 and its role in cancer development was a turning point in oncology research. From that moment onwards, scientists began working toward ways to personalize cancer care, diagnosis and prevention for people carrying this mutation. And it is not just women. Men can develop breast cancers as well. The same mutation found in Tamara's aunt, which had been the cause of several cases of cancer within her family. However, Tamara does not yet know this because she has not been tested and has not been informed of her aunt's positive results. The epiphany will come from the meeting a woman, a 27 years old, who is hospitalized in the hospital where she works and who, 29 weeks into her pregnancy, has undergone a mastectomy for a very aggressive and advanced form of breast cancer.
I was listening to the baby's heartbeat, the unborn baby's heartbeat. I was looking at her, totally shocked, this mutilated body. And I also knew from the surgery report that there were found many nodes in her lymph nodes already. I thought, what happened here? She's 27 years old. I've never heard about breast cancer in such young women.
Tamara keeps track of her visits and appointments, and the doctor treating her suspects that there is a mutation in the BRCA1 gene. Under normal conditions, this gene helps to repair DNA and control the reproduction of cancer cells. But when BRCA1 is altered, its function is switched off. It is as if this defense mechanism against cancer stops working. The woman is referred for genetic testing, and the result is positive. The BRCA1 gene mutation is present.
She told me, when this patient told me that already 2 paternal aunts had died in their 40s of breast cancer, that was the point when I thought about my own family history. So all my paternal aunts had been diagnosed with breast and or ovarian cancer, as well as my paternal grandmother with ovarian cancer. So I went immediately to a genetic counselor, and she said to me, okay, this family history is really very strong. And additionally, you have your mother with early onset breast cancer. So you may have a very high risk for this mutation.
The test results arrive after 3 months.
At the time, I was already 41 years old, and my family history of cancer showed me that our mutation is not fooling around. Additionally, my mother had the early onset breast cancer. So, again, the medical geneticist gave me a percentage of 97% breast cancer risk with this whole story. So, my eldest daughter took the test immediately at 18, and fortunately, it came back negative. My youngest daughter just took the blood, and we will know after holiday break if she is a BRCA1 carrier.
But what happens after a discovery like this? The most famous case is that of the actress Angelina Jolie, who, after discovering she was positive for the BRCA1 gene, decided to undergo preventive surgery, removing her uterus and breasts before developing cancer. Same gene and the same choice made by Tamara.
I decided to have my uterus taken out too, because the uterus actually, without ovarian stimulation, it doesn't make much sense anymore, and it gives a lot of problems. Again, I was a nurse. I was working in gynecology. I had witnessed a lot of hysteroscopies due to problems with the uterus after menopause and so on and so forth. It was an informed personal decision for my case. And early onset surgical menopause, our only possibility to prevent ovarian cancer as a BRCA1 carrier or BRCA2 carrier, has a huge impact on your quality of life.
It is natural to wonder how much higher the risk of developing cancer is if these mutations are present. Amorim again.
The prevalence of BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations around the world is estimated to be in 1 in 300 people, which is really, really high. The risk for a population, the white population, is around 12% in women. If you have a BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations, it's above 60% until 90% risk of developing cancer during lifetime. So it's really, really high. What we can do is preventive. So we can do vigilance, do MRI, do the mammography like every year, both the exams every year, or we can take both breasts and both ovaries preventively. And this decision is not easy, but it's one that really saves lives.
Taking preventive action is not an easy decision. Tamara made a conscious choice to have her uterus and breasts removed. She did so in the light of her family history, with the awareness of someone who works with the disease every day and after having had 2 daughters. This decision should always be made with proper medical information and support. For younger women, the decision whether or not to have surgery is a very delicate one, because in these cases, preventive surgery also means facing infertility and early menopause. There are alternatives to preventive surgery, which, we need to remember, remove still healthy organs from the body.
You can do active surveillance, so you start doing that, for instance, for BRCA1 and BRCA2. The indication is to start at 25, doing ultrasound, and then you starting to do MRI instead of doing the mammography alone. And you can do active surveillance, and there are a lot of women that don't take breasts and just do the active surveillance. The risk with the active surveillance is that everything that will appear in the image and will give you a suspicion, you'll do a biopsy, and you have the risk of doing a lot of biopsies during your lifetime. But yeah, there's a lot of women.
It's very important to say that nowadays we are much more advanced in these approaches with preventive surgeries. There are different techniques, minimally invasive. If you are still a so-called previvor, a survivor to genetic predisposition for hereditary cancer, then you can do the hormone replacement therapy, minimal invasive surgery, and the doctor's advice nowadays is more complete than it was back then when it was my time in 2007. Nowadays it's different and better for sure.
Some people who carry BRCA gene mutations have a higher than average chance of developing breast cancer, often at a younger age. For example, women with a BRCA1 or BRCA2 mutation face a 45-65% risk of being diagnosed before the age of 70. But these are not the only genes that are involved. A PALB2 mutation, for instance, can raise the risk to about 33%. Since many genes are linked to cancer risk, it is important to take personal family history into account before undergoing genetic testing and before interpreting the results, because testing positive for one of these mutations does not mean inevitably developing cancer. However, knowledge makes prevention possible. Together with their doctors, individuals can design a tailored monitoring plan, increasing the chances of identifying tumors at an early stage. And when detected early, cancer is much easier to treat. For those with a BRCA or PALB2 mutation, an early detection plan usually involves more frequent screenings starting at a younger age, and may also include specific imaging tests such as ultrasound or MRI scans. However, only preventive surgery can guarantee that this disease will never develop at all. The choice is always a complicated one, Amorin explains.
There are some genes associated with colon cancer that the risk of developing colon cancer during your lifetime is 100%. And usually everyone takes the colon preventively when we know that there's a mutation on that gene. There's a gene associated with thyroid cancer, which is the same, that the risk is so high that we take. But these ones that the penetrance is not 100%, which means that not everyone will develop cancer during their lifetime, that the penetrance is 60, 70. So this is one of the things that is important in our appointment, to explain the different options, what are the risks, what are the benefits of the different options, and the patient has to decide which one makes sense for them. And there are patients, and usually this is very associated with their previous experience with their family members. Usually they decide there are different things that affect the decision. But for instance, this is one of them. Sometimes these people decide to go on an active surveillance, and if someone saw the mother suffering a lot and like had a very tough 1 year of life, they decide, no, I don't want to go through this. I just want to take them. I don't care. So there are different things that people take in account.
Marta Amorim and Tamara Milagros are not strangers to one another. They have known each other and worked together for years in the Evita Association, founded by Tamara over 10 years ago.
When I attended the FORCE conference in Orlando, FORCE is an American patient organization facing our risk of cancer empowered that supports families affected by hereditary cancer. There I had an epiphany, actually. During the opening session, the executive director of FORCE, Sue Friedman, was talking about our complex patient journeys, and all of a sudden, my desk was wet. I was crying a river because I recognized myself in every word, and I realized the huge pressure and isolation I had been under during the whole time. So then a woman came over to me, gave me a hug, and whispered to my ear, "You are not alone anymore." That was super powerful, and the idea of Evita was born. I would make sure that nobody would have to go through all that without a friendly shoulder to lean on. And our main goal at Evita is to improve the identification of genetic mutation carriers so they can undergo a personalized screening.
Evita shows how important it is not to face this journey alone, both as patients and as doctors.
We built a digital platform, the Evita platform, to close gaps we identified during the 14 years of our activity. So we have a risk assessment questionnaire inside Evita platform, 10 questions based on national recommendations of our Portuguese Society of Oncology. working group hereditary cancer. After answering those 10 questions, you are given an immediate result with recommendations. So if you appear to have a higher risk, we recommend to have genetic counseling. So we are doing kind of a pre-triage for people interested in their cancer risk, if they would benefit or not from genetic counseling, because it's so complex. Again, the syndromes, as the name says, a syndrome is accumulation of symptoms. Each gene is responsible for a group of organs. So it's not only breast cancer you can get from BRCA. It's also ovarian cancer, prostate cancer in men, male breast cancer in men if you have a BRCA2 mutation, and pancreatic cancer is also a topic with BRCA mutations.
Evita is also aimed at doctors who are not specialized in oncology.
Healthcare professionals outside oncology and medical genetics are not able to identify patterns that can be hereditary cancer syndrome. So we automate the process within Evita platform through this 10-question questionnaire. You can take it as a citizen, you can take it as a healthcare professional with your patient by your side to answer to the question and understand if that person would need genetic counseling. And then we have already foreseen telemedicine inside Evita platform, where we can offer genetic counseling and psychological counseling within the platform.
Knowing your genetic risks allows you to take preventive action. But surgery also means performing invasive procedures on healthy organs. It is a difficult decision that requires clear information and full awareness, especially for younger people. Through Tamara's story, we have seen how personalized prevention, as well as proactive approach, holds the potential to truly revolutionize the future of healthcare. Research and clinical practice continue to move forward together, step by step. The second season of The Science of You is a Cora Media podcast, supported by the European Partnership for Personalized Medicine, coordinated by Fondazione Toscana Life Sciences, and co-funded by the European Union's Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Programme. The podcast is hosted by me, Giulia Bassetto, and written by Simone Clemente. The editorial curation is by Graziano Nani. Post-production and sound design are done by Matteo Zullo. The project manager is Anna Maria Renda. The producer is Martina Conte. Post-production coordination is by Matteo Scelsa. The graphic project is by Rebecca Grassi.